Hello, everybody. Magic Skeptic here, aka Dara. It's a pleasure to be going live this evening, and thank you for taking the time to join me. If indeed you're sitting here listening to me right now, I'm very much humbled. I appreciate it massively. The fact that I'm able to start one of these lives and just do it randomly without announcement and people show up is something that I'm never really going to get used to be perfectly honest. It's quite a privilege and an honor. So, once again, at risk of sounding like a broken record, thank you very much for joining me here this evening. So, I don't actually have a specific plan. I just thought I'd go live and do a little Q&A, get a little conversation going. I'm still working out how to do this whole live thing. Part of the reason I've been going live lately is to try and refine my skills and talent as a live streamer, The hope is that by doing these kind of random pop-up streams, that maybe I'll be able to kind of get the ball rolling and start to get better at this. If you are listening, I would really appreciate it if you would jump into the comments and let me know if you can actually hear my voice and if the audio is clear. Am I audible? Is the audio loud enough? Is the stream functioning correctly? Is it buffering or is the connection okay? I would just appreciate some feedback in the comments. That would be great help. Frightened Irish writes, keep up the good work. Thank you very much, Frightened Irish. That's very kind of you to say. Micah Wolf writes, oh look, it's a random skeptic. Late greetings from Germany. Yes, it is I, the random skeptic. Awesome to hear that you're listening from Germany, by the way. True king of the Leinster men writes, nice beard. Yeah, I just said screw it, I'm just going to grow it out. I'm tired of trimming and shaving and all of that stuff. I've just decided that that's in the rear view mirror now. And so despite the fact that I'm being pulverized with a heat wave at this point in time, which has made it very, very difficult to continue with this beard, I must say, it really holds the heat on your face, But I've decided I'm going to stay the course. I'm keeping the beard. That's it. So if you like the beard, great. If you don't, I don't know. You're going to have to join another stream, I'm afraid. Yeah, I just thought, screw it. Let's just go for it. Beard. I'm going to embrace my Viking self. Why not? Audio is thumbs up, says Time Thing. Thank you. Channel inactive says I can hear you all good. Fantastic. Jason Cornell writes, you're a wizard, Dara, and a thumping good one. And a thumping good one, I'd wager. Oh, good old Robbie Coltrane. Oh, I miss him. What a great portrayal of Hagrid. I guess it's the only portrayal of Hagrid that we have. I mean, it's soon to be challenged by Nick Frost, who's going to play Hagrid in the HBO TV adaptation of the Harry Potter novels. I'm very excited to see that. I understand that it has been the subject of some controversy. People get kind of hung up on the whole identity politics side of it and who's going to play what, and I don't so much concern myself with that sort of stuff. Certainly not on my channel. I'm very excited to see what HBO does with Harry Potter. That's all I can say. I'm very, very excited to see where it goes because, well, not least because I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. At least certainly the movies. I've really enjoyed the movies. I've not read the novels myself. I find it very difficult to read fiction. I don't know if you guys are the same, but I find that very, very tricky to do. I don't know, I just don't have the staying power for fiction. I'm a big fan of film. My whole house is covered in movie collectibles and statues, and I just came from the cinema tonight, actually. I'll talk to you about that in a moment. But I love film. I absolutely love fiction in the cinema format. I love DVDs and Blu-rays and 4Ks. I could watch movies till the end of time, but whatever it is about fiction in the written form, I'm just can't do it. And I've tried. Goodness, I've tried, and I just can't. I end up, I don't know how many times I've started reading Stephen King's It and given up. Now, granted, some people might say maybe I started with the wrong book because that's quite a thick, dense book, and maybe it's not even the best book. I don't know. I'm not well read enough to know. But yeah, it's not the only book I've tried. I have tried a plethora of books, and if they're fiction, I find it very, very hard to get through them or to get into them even. But yeah, I do love movies, and I don't so much love TV, although I think TV shows have gotten so cinematic now that they're almost like mini movies. Like, I absolutely love, my favorite TV show of all time is Breaking Bad. I suspect I'll be in good company with that announcement. But in any case, this is a long way of saying I absolutely can't wait to see HBO's take on Harry Potter. I mean, HBO is the creme de la creme of TV. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, and you can correct me in the comments if I'm mistaken here, folks, but isn't HBO, aren't they the ones who are responsible for Sopranos? Aren't they the ones who did Band of Brothers? right? I know the Last of Us TV show has gotten a lot of flack in recent months, but I don't know, maybe I've just got bad taste, but I really enjoyed the first two seasons of that. Certainly the first season. I think the first season was better for sure. But yeah, I just think HBO does really, really good stuff. And so seeing their take of the Harry Potter universe is going to be fascinating. I mean, the best thing about it, right, is one of the top complaints that readers of the books had about the films is how much stuff they left out. And I think it's an unfair criticism because at the end of the day, you're taking a novel and you're turning it into a movie that's 2.5 hours. That necessitates cutting out an immense amount. I mean, I don't know how long it would take to read a Harry Potter book, but let's say it's 8 to 10 hours of reading time. Turning that into a 2.5 hour script is going to result in certain things being removed and certain character arcs and plot threads being excised, and such is the nature of the beast. But with the TV show, like, I don't know how many episodes there's going to be per season. Let's say it's 10. That's 10 hours approximately. Maybe there'll be 45 minutes. Whatever way you cut it, it's going to be a hell of a lot more time that these creators have to take those novels and turn them into the visual medium. So it's very exciting to see where that's going to go. Let's get back to the chat here and see what people are saying, because I've missed a few comments here. Me says, I love this guy, great content. That's very kind of you to say. Thank you so much. Michael Wolf writes, the only fiction I never bother to read is the Bible, but I suspect that's not unusual either, except that I also never believed it. That's fair enough. Ooh, calling that fiction. You're going to... Michael, you don't understand. That's offensive. How dare you? What else? Where am I gone here? Sorry, guys, I'm still learning how to use this, so just figuring it out as I go along here. So am I the only one who's looking forward to the Harry Potter adaptation on HBO? I mean, I absolutely can't wait. I think it's going to be awesome. I think it's going to be absolutely amazing. Well, I mean, I suppose I shouldn't... What? I can't predict the future, right? I can't say it's definitely going to be amazing. I just know that HBO's track record is quite a good one. And so I'm cautiously optimistic, we'll put it that way. Didn't even know it was a thing. That's fair enough. Is This is definitely the funniest comment yet. Is that a xenomorph on your nipple, writes Nigel. Yes, it is. I'm wearing an Aliens t-shirt. I don't know how... let me just move the mic a small bit. So you can see it goes all the way from the egg on this side, where the face hugger hatches. Bloody mic. See it there? Then it's a face hugger, and then chest burster, then xenomorph, then alien queen. Yes, I am a nerd. Yes, I absolutely am a nerd. I'm a movie nerd. My whole house is covered in collectibles and nonsense from movies. So I don't partake in the drinking of alcohol, and I don't partake in the consuming of certain substances. I am a square, an absolute square. Give me a Chinese takeaway and a can of Coca-Cola any night of the week, and that's as wild as my life gets. I am truly boring, but where I do spend money is on collectibles and autographs and statues and movies and all that kind of stuff. I am an absolute nerd. I go to comic book conventions, and I'm one of those people. I really care about the condition of the packaging and so forth. So yeah, in case it hasn't been obvious thus far, I'm sorry to disappoint some people who might have thought differently of me, but yeah, I am a super, super nerd. Not just a philosophy nerd. I mean, goodness gracious me, folks. I am a teacher by trade. I'm a secondary school teacher. I mean, you can't get much more nerdy than the guy who goes around wearing an Aliens t-shirt, teaches for a living, is a philosophy geek and a nerd, and also collects action figures and comic books and Funko Pops and autographs. People asking about whether or not PJ Ducky and I are ever going to do a podcast again. I mean, I'll tell you the truth. We actually did record another podcast for PJ's channel, but I don't know if PJ kind of got just distracted by work or something. Maybe it'll go live on his channel at some point, but I'm not sure. But like, yeah, we've definitely been doing some stuff together, but it just hasn't seen the light of day yet. So, watch this space, I guess. Um, yeah, my channel has kind of become so much now about philosophy and so much about the arguments for God's existence and doing response videos and so on that I just haven't had the same amount of time that I used to have for those more casual conversations. And I'm sure PJ and Ducky would agree. I mean, this is the thing. This is why I'm lucky, right? I'm very lucky in comparison to PJ and Ducky's channels. For those of you who don't know, Sergeant Ducky and the other channel is Just a Tip run by PJ. Those channels, more often than not, deal with animated content. And as such, their videos take so much longer to make than my videos do. Now, I'm not pretending that my videos don't take long. I gotta tell you, the average production time let's do it in order. Between conceptualizing the video, writing the script, filming it, editing it, uploading it, doing thumbnail, tags, description, by the time all of that is done, on average, my video production time is about 25 to 30 hours per video. So that ain't no cakewalk, folks. That's not a stroll in the park. It takes quite some time. So I'm not at all suggesting that my videos are easy to make. But for the average video on, say, Ducky's channel, I think you could at least double, maybe even triple that time to get one video out. So it's really, really hard to get time to get us, all three of us, in a live call together where we can record it and actually have a fruitful conversation. It's just so complicated. Life is chaos, and that's, by the way, on that note, that's to say nothing of the complication of just life in general, where we all have busy lives outside of YouTube, and we all have matters to tend to and responsibilities and duties and so on and so forth. So, I mean, like, this isn't my job. For anybody who thought having 24,000 subscribers on YouTube makes this your job, you'd be mistaken. 24,000 subs is not enough for this to be your living. Oh, how I wish it was, but it isn't. I'm still a teacher by trade, as I've said, and so that takes up an enormous amount of my time, as any job would. And so there's that. It's just, yeah, that's a very long way of saying it's quite tricky to get everybody in the same room. So, yeah, where am I here? Love the deep dives and takedowns of exegesists, well written, and they come with a good dose of sufficient humor. Yeah, that's very kind of you to say, Michael. Oh, yeah, I was going to say, so I've been to the cinema this evening. I don't know if any of you guys have seen this. It's a movie that's been out a couple of weeks, I think. But I went to see F1, the Formula One movie starring Brad Pitt. And I got to say, I really, really enjoyed it. I think you should guys check it out. You guys should check it out, rather, if you get a chance. Like, Brad Pitt just doesn't know how to do a bad movie, it would seem. I mean, maybe you guys have some suggestions in the comments, but it just seems like he doesn't know how to fail at acting. He's just such a phenomenal actor. I mean, he's been famous for as long as I remember, and the man just hands in one incredible performance after another. I mean, this film was just really, really exhilarating and really exciting. Perhaps a bit cliched, perhaps a bit predictable, but it was just undeniably fun and exciting and adrenaline fueled. It was such a good time. And I gotta say, and you have probably inferred this from my comments about being a nerd already, but I have zero, literally zero interest in Formula One. I've never watched Formula One. I couldn't tell you anybody who's involved in Formula One. any of you in the comments section right now have probably forgotten more about Formula One than I will ever know about the subject. So, my appreciation for this film had absolutely nothing to do with a pre existing interest in Formula One. It was just a really good movie. It was just a really, really good movie. So, I couldn't recommend more highly that you go see it if you haven't done so already. Um, and another movie I saw just recently as well, actually, I went to see it yesterday. For those of you who don't know, the reason I go to the cinema a lot is because here in the UK, they have a thing called a Cine card where you pay about 19 British pounds per month and you can go see as many movies as you want. I know they have a similar thing in the United States. Um, and so you'll know what I'm talking about. But like, this is just the best value proposition ever. One cinema ticket in today's inflation and all the rest of it is like 12 or 13 British pounds for just one single adult. It might even be 14 British pounds to go to see a film now. So if you think about it, this card costs you £19 per month. So all you have to do in the entire month is go see 2 films and you've already made your money back. And needless to say, I absolutely get my money's worth. I might be single-handedly responsible for Cineworld in the UK reconsidering their Cine card option, because I'm definitely getting my fill, that's for sure. This, as I said, this weekend alone, I've already now gone to see both Superman and F1. And I may very well go see another movie tomorrow, because I still haven't seen the new Jurassic World movie. And I was also thinking of checking out that horror movie, Megan 2.0, because I actually really liked the first Megan. The only reason I haven't gone to see it just yet is because the reviews have been questionable. But yeah, Jason writes 28 years later is worth a look too. Jason, you're going to hate me, I suspect. I think you're going to find objectionable what I'm about to say, and I don't say it with the intention of frustrating you or irritating anybody, but I gotta be honest, I really, really, really didn't enjoy 28 years later. I had a profoundly, now I mean, I had a profoundly negative reaction to it. I gotta be honest. It really, really, really didn't work for me. And I'm a massive, I mean, massive fan of 28 Days Later. 28 Days Later is in my top 10 horror movies of all time. I think 28 Days Later is a masterpiece. I absolutely love that film. I didn't so highly rate the sequel 28 Weeks Later. It was okay. But I gotta tell you, boy, I gotta tell you, 28 years later really, really didn't work for me. I don't know what to tell you. I won't spoil it for people who haven't seen it, but I'll just ambiguously reference one thing, and anybody who's seen it will know what I'm talking about. The ending, the ending of 28 years later is astonishingly, astonishingly bad. I can't even begin to explain what they must have been thinking. And I've heard some attempts online about trying to interpret the final 5 minutes. But the best way I could kind of explain it to you, and this isn't original to myself, but one reviewer that I watch quite frequently described it as the first, like the first 95% of the movie is an apocalyptic zombie film, and the last 5% of the film is Scott Pilgrim versus the world. That's actually a surprisingly apt description. And now, none of that spoils the narrative or what's happening, so, you don't need to be worried. I'm not going to spoil the movie for anybody who hasn't seen it. But the first 95% of the film was a zombie apocalypse movie, and the last 5% was Scott Pilgrim versus the world. I've heard other people compare it to the Power Rangers. So, using that thought, it would be the first 95% is a zombie apocalypse movie, and the last 5% is an episode of Power Rangers from the 90s. And again, these are surprisingly apt comparisons for what actually happens. And don't get me wrong, it's not just the last 5% of the film that I had a problem with, albeit the last 5% left an incredibly sour and unpleasant taste in my mouth. But that acknowledged that I had major problems with the rest of the film as well. They do things with the infected, the so-called rage virus, the manner in which they develop the mythology surrounding the rage virus and how it so-called evolves. I did not appreciate the direction that they brought it. I did not appreciate. I'll put it this way in rather vague terms. I did not appreciate the humanity that they brought to the rage virus. And that's as much as I can say without getting spoilerific. I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't seen it. But yeah, I really struggled with 28 years later. It really wasn't for me, I'm afraid to say. And again, I say this as a massive, perhaps one of the biggest fans of the original film. I adore 28 Days Later. I think Cillian Murphy is astonishing in it. The shots of an unoccupied apocalyptic London, the horror, Brendan Gleeson. It's such a powerhouse of a horror film. And I dare say it's an underrated gem. I don't hear people talking about 28 Days Later a lot. And it deserves, in my view, to be in the conversation. Like, I'm going to say something bold right now. In my humble opinion, 28 Days Later is up there with films like Alien. It's up there with films like The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing. Like, that's how highly I think of that film in terms of the horror genre. Like, I think it's in that conversation. Now, that'll be a sacrilegious statement to some people, but that's how good I think that film is. Whereas this most recent entry, I'm afraid to say, not really for me, I'm afraid. And I'm really sad to say that because I really, really wanted to enjoy this movie. I don't go into movies with an agenda. I don't walk into the cinema with the plan of liking or disliking something. I try my best, as any good cinema goer should, to leave all of my expectations and thoughts at the door and go in and just let the movie wash over me. And I hope, I dare say, I almost pray that every movie I go see will be awesome. Because who wants to see a bad film? Right? Who wants to go in and watch a bad movie? I mean, I wish every movie I saw was bloody awesome, because then I wouldn't have to come out of the theater disappointed. So, yeah. The longer I'm alive, I was saying this, I was actually talking to PJ yesterday. Not in a podcast, just private conversation. I was saying to PJ, am I just an old kind of curmudgeon? Am I just a hard to please, unpleasant individual or something? Because I just find that most things I see I actually don't like. Speaking of which, and I'll get a lot of hate for this as well, I saw the new Superman movie yesterday, and I really didn't like that either, folks. I'm so sorry. I really, really didn't like that movie either. For those of you wondering about how long I'm going to tangent for this, if you don't like tangents, this isn't going to be the live for you. All I do is tangents. I'm just talking and discussing things as they come to my mind. That's the whole point of my lives. I'm just kind of just chatting shit, having a bit of fun, bit of casual talk, bit of banter, and we'll see where the conversation takes us. So if that's not to your liking, then maybe this won't be the live for you, I'm afraid. But, you can't please everybody, unfortunately. Wow, we've got almost 30 people in here. That's absolutely incredible. What the hell? Welcome, one and all. Thank you so much. Yeah, I was just in the midst of talking about Superman there. Um, you know, I really didn't enjoy it, I'm afraid to say, and I'm perfectly aware that I'm in the minority on that. I've been looking at the Rotten Tomatoes, or what Americans will say, tomatoes. I love that difference, by the way. Though I don't laugh at that because I'm laughing at Americans. I just really enjoy the differences in pronunciation. I say Rotten Tomatoes and Americans will say Rotten Tomatoes. But it's whatever. It's just pronunciation. But anyway, I'm fully cognizant of the fact that I'm in an extreme minority. Last I checked, the audience score on Rotten Tomatoes for the new Superman movie was in the like 90th percentile or something. In fact, actually, before I go any further, let me look it up right now, and I'll tell you exactly where it's at. By the way, if you are watching live right now, please do me an enormous favor and hit like. If you haven't done so yet, just hit like on the live. That it's free for you to do. Doesn't take you a second, and it helps out the channel enormously. That would be fantastic, and yeah, that would be wonderful. And also, if you have any questions that you'd like me to discuss in depth or anything like that, please consider dropping a super chat. That would be enormously appreciated as well. But let me look up this Rotten Tomatoes score for Superman. I actually do have a way of projecting this on the screen for you guys, but do I really want to do that now? Still learning. In fact, do you know what? Screw it. Let me try and see if I can project this for you guys. So if I go to Rotten Tomatoes and I type in Superman, there we go. Okay, now let me see. Now this is going to look weird for a second because I'm going to do a picture-in-picture thing here, folks. So there's my picture-in-picture, and then I go here to Rotten Tomatoes. Now, in theory, you guys should be able to see that. I hope you can. And just to verify that you can see that, I'm going to pull up my very own live stream here on YouTube. So here we are. And I'll have to turn down this volume. Oh, sorry about that, folks. Right. Yeah, so there's the live stream. No, you guys can't see that for some reason. I don't know why that is. Oh, that's frustrating. I thought I would have been able to show you guys. Oh, I see display capture. Oh, 1 second. Ah, there we go. Okay. Now I've got it. Okay, I think it will display there now any moment. Yeah, I'm looking at it now. Yeah, so you guys can see it now. So if I zoom in on this, you'll be able to see the audience. Sorry, guys, that took way too long. Way, way too long. But I'm just learning the ropes as I go along here. And you can see it there now. So you can see that the critic score is 82% and the audience score is 93%, which is pretty insane if you think about it. Right, that's an astonishingly good review for the film. And the critics' consensus here says, and I quote, "Pulling off the heroic feat of fleshing out a dynamic new world while putting its champion's big, beating heart front and center, this Superman flies high as a man of tomorrow, grounded in the here and now." So, you know, clearly the critics have absolutely loved this film. And fair enough. Look, fair enough. I get it. I can see why people liked it. All I can say is that I didn't. The audience says James Gunn brings back a timeless hero with Superman and gifts us a four-legged scene stealer we can all rally behind. Great. I totally understand. But it just wasn't for me, folks. I don't know what to tell you. It just wasn't for me. I walked out of the film feeling frustrated. I walked out of the film feeling confused. It just really, really didn't work for me. And I wanted so much to love it. I wanted so much to enjoy it, you know. I'm a big fan of the Superman character, but to be perfectly honest, and as I explained to my friend PJ yesterday when we spoke about it after having seen it, the reason I was excited for this film is primarily because I'm a fan of James Gunn. Like, that was the reason I was excited to see it. I have loved James Gunn's filmography. I think the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy is just incredible. Particularly the third one. The third one just floored me. My God, is that an impressive and emotionally heavy film. Really, really super enjoyed the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy. I think each one of them is just filled with joy and jubilation and laughter and emotional weight and gravitas, great characters and so on. Um, we got a super chat. Is pulling coins from ears a path to untold wealth? That's very kind of you to donate just to ask that question. Let me read that again. I'm going to put a little heart on that. Thank you so much, the Tawniest. I remember Tawniest, you actually submitted some super chats in the previous stream as well. That's very, very generous of you. So $2 from the Tawniest, who writes, is pulling coins from ears a path to untold wealth? I mean, I guess if you could do it for real, it actually would be. It would be the ultimate life hack, right? Just walking around pulling coins out of people's ears. So yeah, I mean, I'll let you know if I ever figure out how to do it for real, but up to now, unfortunately, the only way I know to do that is to do it via trickery and sleight of hand. But yeah, that's a funny super chat. Thank you so much for submitting that. That's very, very kind of you. Can I also ask, by the way, because I did try my best to set this up correctly, can you guys confirm in the chat when the Tawniest submitted that super chat, did you also hear the audio cue for it? Because the last live I did, I could only hear the audio cue in my headset, but the viewers couldn't hear it because I had it set to like a monitor mode, which means only my headphones could hear it. Did you guys get an audio cue when Tawniest submitted that $2 super chat? If you would let me know on the chat. Didn't hear anything, dog. Ah, that sucks. Thanks for letting me know, Daniel, but that sucks. I thought I had set it up correctly. There's supposed to be an audio cue that comes through. No, I didn't hear it. No, thank you for confirming. Thank you for confirming. Yeah, you're saying you don't think you're supposed to, but there is a way of setting up, because I want you guys to be able to hear the jingle as well, because it's a nice little notice for everybody, and I think, you know, the person submitting the super chat deserves to have that recognition, not just on the screen. I was very happy to see that the text pops up. I've got that set up, but I also tried to set up an audio notification for when that happens. But in any case, I've obviously failed on that front. I'll go back to the drawing board and I'll try again for a future stream, because I do have it set up. I mean, when I click, you guys won't be able to see what I'm about to do here, but when I click into my audio settings here and I go to advanced audio properties, like I said, you guys won't be able to see this screen that I'm looking at right now. At least I don't think you'll be able to. And when I go to this, yeah, I have it set to monitor and output, and it just doesn't work for some reason. So I'm not so sure why that is. But anyway, leave that with me, folks, and I'll try and figure that out for future reference. But at the very least, the super chats are popping up on the screen, and so at least people will see that the super chat has been submitted. That's the main thing. But thank you to those who have confirmed that you indeed did not hear it. Yeah, so yeah, I am using OBS. This is not something that we need to discuss at any great depth or anything. It's just a very simple thing that I have to figure out in the background. I'm just very vanilla. I'm very new to streaming, and so I'm just figuring it out as I go along, basically. So, I'm still very pleased with what I've achieved thus far. So, for example, I figured out how to do another screen, although let's get the ball out of that shot there. So I can have this other shot here. So very happy that I figured that out. And as you saw earlier, I've got the picture-in-picture thing. And I've got it all set up with hotkeys and so on. So I'm not doing so bad. Not doing so bad. Some thumbs up in the chat there for, you know, age-old Magic Skeptic here with his aging, greying beard, figuring stuff out. Technology. Oh, I'm so lame. I'm so lame. But anyway, see all the thumbs up. Oh, that's so kind of you guys. You warm my heart. That's very kind. Oh God, I've clicked something there now, and oh, there we go. Now it's gone. Okay, what was I saying? Very impressive. dear, I feel like I'm getting sympathy votes here. I'm sorry. I know I'm so late. This stuff is probably all second nature to you guys. In my capacity as a teacher, I deal with young people quite a lot, ages 11 to 18, and they're such whiz kids on computers and stuff. Everything is like, it takes them a tenth of the time to accomplish something on a computer that it takes me, you know. But in my defense, as a 33-year-old man, we didn't have a family computer, and it was a family computer, not my own personal laptop or iPad or anything like that. We didn't have a family computer until I was like 10. Might have even been 11 years of age. And it was one of those gigantic, you know, things that took up a room in your house. And we had dial-up internet. Those of you who are my age or older will know exactly what I'm talking about. So, you know, I wasn't raised on technology the same way the current young people are, you know. As far as I can tell, anybody right now who's like age 11 or even age 15 to 20, they've just had devices in their hands their whole life. They've had iPads and iPhones and Androids and tablets and laptops and every sort of a device you could ever possibly imagine. Their parents have just handed to them to keep them quiet so that they won't torment them. So the younger generation just has a much more intuitive understanding of all of this stuff. Yes, I've seen people pointing it out there in the chat that they grew up in it. They absolutely did, whereas I didn't. You know, my first mobile phone was a Nokia 3210, which was a brick phone, and it had analog buttons on it. There was no such thing as touchscreen, and all you could do was send texts and receive texts and make calls and receive calls. Right, it had a black and white screen, or was it green and black screen, or whatever it was. I can't remember exactly what the colors were, but basically there were two colors, and the most fancy thing you could do with this device was play a game called Snake, where the object of the game was to collect little pellets, and your snake would grow longer, and it would eventually become difficult to not bump into your own tail, and as soon as you bumped into your own tail, you lost. Right, and this was deeply impressive. Yeah, somebody else pointed it out in the chat, and play Snake. Yes, Russell is quite right. You took the words out of my mouth there, Russell. But yeah, that's the way it was, folks. So I know this is starting to sound like Grandpa's story time right now, so I'll stop. I feel like by the end of this live, my beard is going to be even more grey than it already is, but there you go. Time doesn't slow down for anybody, folks. That's the thing I've realised. I blinked and now I'm 33. Ah, getting a little bit more philosophical, going back to the whole point of my channel here. That is something, you know, the longer I'm alive, and this may be controversial for some of the atheists in the audience, and you know, just bear with me before you freak out here, but the longer I'm alive, the more I have sympathy for the religious impulse. Like, I get it. Now, this is not to intimate that I'm having a crisis of an existential crisis that's leading me towards faith or something like that. Absolutely not. I'd be very surprised and shocked if I die anything other than an atheist. But the longer I'm alive, the more sympathy I have. Let's hold that thought. I've just had a super chat there from Nigel, who donated $11.72 $11.72 US. That's very, very kind of you, Nigel. Let me read that out. So with all the knowledge you have acquired and interesting perspectives you can offer people, do you ever find you have to bite your tongue in social situations just to keep the peace and a pleasant vibe? I do that all the time, Nigel. I literally do that all the time. First of all, let me just acknowledge that very kind compliment that you gave me at the start of that super chat. You are far too kind. All of this knowledge that I've acquired according to you. First of all, let me just say, I feel like I'm an idiot for the most part. I'm an idiot who probably knows a little bit more about philosophy than the average person, but make no mistake, I'm still just an idiot, right? So, let me just get that out of the way first. But that's very kind of you to say. And yes, I do find myself in situations where I have to bite my tongue. So let me give you, I've actually got a good answer for this, Nigel. I'm so happy you've asked this question because it gives me this opportunity to tell you this little anecdote. For years, and my own friends, and next time, if you know who PJ is on Just a Tip, or if you know who Sergeant Ducky is on his channel, they're good friends of mine and they've been friends with me for decades now. They will tell you that when I was a younger man, and still obviously to some extent today, nobody ever changes fully, but I had such an appetite for debate and discussion that I would get into arguments with people all the time. I would get into arguments with people at the bus stop. I remember one day I got into an argument with a creationist at my local barber. This woman was telling me that she knows that the earth was designed by God because of its complexities. So she was giving me a design argument. Now, these arguments, if you're not aware, folks, these arguments are fallacious in the extreme. They do not work, right? And I won't go into why they don't work now because it's not necessarily pertinent to Nigel's question. I'm just giving you examples of all of the places I used to get into debates and arguments with people. Funny enough, that particular moment with that woman in the barbershop ended with her storming out of the barbershop. Not because I was rude to her, but because I was incessant in my approach to the debate. I wasn't going to let it slide, right? I was just going to keep debating it and debating it and debating it. I often find that my enthusiasm for debate and discussion dwarfs that of my opponent. And this would happen to me all the time. So I would get into debates with people who were friends, strangers at the barbershop, people at bus stops, even my own work colleagues. Now, that's fine, but sometimes people, sometimes, like, you have to be an adult, and I'm criticizing myself here. Sometimes you have to be an adult and realize, you know what, this person who said this thing you disagree with, Dara, they weren't intending on getting into a formal debate where each speaker has 5 minutes and then there's a cross-examination section and so on. And this is something that I failed to understand. My attitude was always, well, if they're brave enough or willing to say these ridiculous things, then they should be brave enough and willing to be challenged and so on. And so I had this very confrontational, very enthusiastic thirst for debate, and I would do it all the time everywhere I went, Nigel, right? I did it in work. It ended up with me falling out with certain work colleagues, and it was just chaos. It was crazy, right? Some very heated discussions. The fact that I still have any friends is testament to their patience. I must have other qualities that are redeeming because looking back now, I can see that I was quite unbearable. So getting to your question, Nigel, you say, do I ever bite my tongue now? Yes, I changed, and I'll tell you what changed me, Nigel. This YouTube is what changed me. I now get all of that out of my system by making my videos. That itch that I need scratched. So I haven't really changed. I've just redirected my enthusiasm for debate. YouTube is my outlet. I scratch that itch by writing those scripts. I scratch that itch by making response videos and critiquing creationists and critiquing smugglers of nonsense and fallacious BS. That's where I get my kicks now. So by the time I go to work, I no longer feel the need to get embroiled in some serious debate with somebody anymore. It's not to say that it never happens. Of course it's going to happen sometimes. But I used to go out into the workplace and go out into the world. I'm thinking of like the Terminator's vision from the first all of the Terminator movies where like you can see the Terminator's POV and it's like terminate. That was like me, but it was like debate. Reveal fallacy, disprove, debunk. I was just going around the place searching on a search and destroy mission basically. But because of YouTube and because of the outlet that this has given me, because I can now get all of that stuff off of my chest, because I make videos now where I do a takedown of Jordan Peterson, or I do a takedown of Ken Ham or Ben Shapiro, or you name it, I'm able to scratch that itch and get all of that stuff off of my chest. So in any case, Nigel, I thank you once again for the. It was actually €10 or $11.72. I really, really thank you for that super chat. That's very, very kind of you, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to explain that. Because I'm very proud to say that I've managed to redirect that debate energy. Because there does, to be fair, come a point where it's actually just a bit too much, isn't it? It's a bit full on. It's not cool to go out into the world and to bend everybody over a barrel and expect them to defend their deepest metaphysical commitments when all they wanted to do was actually express their frustration on a particular political point, or all they wanted to do was say something out loud about their opinion on something. They weren't stating it as a premise in an argument, or they weren't stating it as a as a political point in some kind of a heated debate on Piers Morgan's Uncensored, you know. But this is how I kind of navigated the world, and yeah, I really, really was. I basically, it pains me to admit this because there'll be theists in the audience who'll take advantage of what I'm about to say. But if I'm being honest, I have to admit the following thing. I went through that kind of new atheist, angsty teenager, angry atheist phase. I did. Hands up. Hands up. Got to admit it. If I'm going to be honest, if I'm going to be truthful with you guys, I have to tell you that I did go through my angry atheist phase. And, yeah, it wasn't pretty, folks. It wasn't pretty. It was damn unbearable for everybody who was witnessing it and who was participating. And I was actually just saying this to a good friend of mine recently, PJ. Again, you'll know him from the channel, Just a Tip. Some of you will. If you don't, you can go check out that channel. Lots of cool animated content and podcast content and so on. But I did say to PJ, I said, PJ, how did you actually put up with me? How did you actually maintain a friendship with me, given how unbearable I was? Because I directed a lot of that at PJ as well, because he was a person I spent a lot of time with. As soon as he would announce a point of view or a perspective that I found objectionable, PJ would suddenly be, confronted with my thesis to the contrary, and the expectation that he would defend his point of view against my thesis, and what's your evidence, and show me your sources. And it was all just very intense. It was all just a bit much. And, I shouldn't say all of this. I shouldn't say all of this in the way that it implies that I'm fully over this. I'm not. I'm sure there are some people who would watch this live and they'd say, are you kidding me, Dara? Do you remember what happened last week in the staff room? Or do you remember what happened last month at that birthday party? Or do you not remember what happened last year when we met up and, X, Y, and Z, and you got into a big debate with this person? Yeah, I'm not cured. I'm not cured. But that side of my personality, I think it would only be fair to say, for any honest onlooker, that part of my personality has been greatly diminished and tamed by YouTube. I get all of that stuff out now in this platform, and I have you guys to thank for that, because if you weren't here, it would be just me screaming into the ether. I might as well just go have a conversation with myself in the closet, or go scream into a Coca-Cola can, because without you guys being here, then I would just be quite literally talking to myself. And as I said at the outset when this live began today, I'm never going to get used to the fact that I can just go live. And looking at my analytics right now, according to my analytics, there's 33, approximately 34, 33 people in here watching live right now, which is just absolutely astonishing to me, that I'm able to just go live, turn on a microphone, and I'm just greeted with a bunch of you guys who are willing to listen and participate, and people like Nigel and others, the Tawniest and so on, who are willing to submit super chats. And I just, I'm just eternally grateful. So thank you so much. But I was talking about something before Nigel's question, and I've now lost my train of thought. If anybody in the live chat can recall what I was talking about when Nigel's question was submitted, I would very much appreciate it, because I've completely lost the thread of what I was talking about. So if anybody can recall that, that would be great. Um, but yeah, Nigel, I don't mind being interrupted with a great question. So please don't interpret that as a critique of you, my friend. Absolutely not. But but yeah, that's okay. That's no problem at all. But yeah, in any case, I think what I was talking about, we were talking about the cinema, we were talking about movies and so on. Talking about turning to, oh yes, that's right, yes, I was talking about turning to religion. Yeah, let me finish that thought. Thank you so much, Daniel just helped me recall the thought there. Fair play to you, Daniel. That's very kind of you. You have a better memory than I do, my friend. So yeah, I was saying, and rather controversially, and I suspect I'll get some heat for this, is that the longer I'm alive, the more sympathy I have for the religious impulse. That's the point I was making. You know, the longer I'm alive, the more I get it. Like, I blinked and now I'm 33. And I know there's going to be people in my audience who are much older than 33 and who are going to look at me right now and they're going to look down at me and think, oh, my sweet summer child, how silly it is of you to think that you're old. I'm not saying I'm old. I don't believe I'm an old man at 33. Yeah, sometimes I joke about having grey hairs in my beard or whatever, and that's fine. It's for the sake of humour. But no, I don't think I'm an old man. That's not the point I'm making. What I'm noticing at 33 is how quickly time has gone by. Like, yesterday I was 18. I remember my 18th birthday. I remember it. I bought a PS3 Slim on my 18th birthday. Came back to my house and we had a wonderful party with lots of friends, and it feels like it was yesterday. Now I'm 33 and I'm living here in England, and I've been teaching a decade in England, and like, I just don't know where the time has gone. And I can understand how these kinds of existential realizations could put somebody in a kind of mindset that makes them more open or more susceptible to religious claims. I mean, I blinked and I went from 18 to 33. I suspect I'm going to blink again and I'm going to go from 18 to 56. The point I'm making, guys, is that life is very, very short. And it's also, for many people, very, very painful, very, very cruel. I mean, I think the Buddhists got it right. Right? The first noble truth is that suffering exists. And I think they're absolutely spot on about that. Suffering is the universal human experience. There's no life that is lived without suffering. And given the fact that life is short and filled with suffering, I totally get why somebody would want there to be more than this. More than what we experience on this mortal coil. The problem is, I just don't see any evidence for there being more. So all I'm pointing out is that I get the impulse, though. I understand why people yearn for something beyond this existence. I get it. I'm not oblivious to that fact. Sometimes I get comments on my videos and people say things like, I mean, can't you just, can't you not understand? Like, these religious people believe this because it gives them hope, it gives them comfort and so on. And of course I understand that. But my channel isn't about whether or not I understand why people have these yearnings. My channel is primarily and principally about whether or not there's any good reason to believe these things that people yearn for. I mean, I yearn for having millions of dollars in my bank account. But if you want to go check my balance, folks, I can assure you there's not millions of dollars in there, right? The fact that somebody is yearning for something tells us nothing at all about whether or not that thing is true. So whilst I am growing in my sympathy towards the religious impulse, this yearning for some kind of afterlife or some kind of deity who loves us and who takes care of us and that sort of thing, I totally get the impulse. I mean, some people forget that I was a Catholic for like 18 years, right? I didn't start this journey as an atheist. I was a Catholic for 18 years, folks, although some people will quibble and say you're an atheist when you're a baby. Let's not get into that debate. The point is, I'm a Catholic. I was a Catholic for as long as I could remember, and then I deconverted and I became an atheist, right? So, in any case, I get it, guys. I get why there's a religious impulse. I understand. I'm just wondering there. I think maybe the could somebody there in the comments tell me, am I mistaken? Did the stream just pause there, or was that just on my end? Because I think it might have just dropped a little bit. If it dropped, let me know. Because truthfully, I'm actually streaming wirelessly during this stream. I can connect a hard line, which will make it much better. But if you just experienced a drop in the stream there, let me know, and I can potentially rectify that, and that would be no problem. But yeah, because my chat here, I think, is freezing up a little bit. It's a bit frustrating. Let me. Yeah, I think my chat has frozen. So I see it there on the stream. Can I refresh this? See. Oh, there we go. It's now popped back in. It did drop, Magic Skeptic. Oh, thank you. That's awesome. Yeah. Okay. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Because how long have I been streaming at this point? Actually, even the page where I check how long I've been streaming has actually paused. So actually, you know what I'm going to do, folks? So bear with me for one moment. I'm going to put this on a little hold, and I'm going to go grab the wire that allows me to connect a hard line here. So what's going to pop up on screen is a 5-minute timer. I won't be gone for 5 minutes. I'll be gone for a maximum of 2. And in that time, I'm going to go get the hard line and connect it to this laptop, and we'll have a much cleaner connection then. So just bear with me one moment, folks. Hello, folks. So that should have cleared it ever so slightly. So I don't know how many people are still here, but yeah, I have just connected a hard line. So in theory, our connection should be better now. So we'll see how that works out. I'm going to see if the people are still here. Yeah, so my chat is actually struggling here because of that. But let me see. Do this. Just going to hit refresh on this and see what happens. Let's try that. Right, that might have done it. Right. So I think that might have fixed it now, folks. Cool. So yeah, if you could just tell me in the chat if everything is working correctly, if you can still hear me and you can still see me. Yeah, still here. Cool. Okay, so it looks like things are working now again. Um, awesome. Happy days. Excellent. Seems to be grand. All right, so I'm gonna chance something here now, and I'm gonna turn off my Wi-Fi connection. And in theory, stream shouldn't drop because we're now on a hardwired connection. So there's the Wi-Fi gone. Excellent. All right, so we're back on track. And apologies for that little drop, folks. But yeah, there's that's my mistake for going live without plugging in a hard line. So yeah, apologies about that. I was just chancing my arm really, but now that that's fixed, we can get back to it. So yeah, anyway, just finishing up that point that I was making, to make a long story short, yeah, the longer I'm alive, I get it, folks. I understand why people have that religious impulse. It's just that some people, I don't get it. Like, it's a really, I'm trying to be polite with how I deliver this particular statement, but I guess there's no polite way of saying it. I find it rather unbelievable, like, that there are people who are so silly that they actually believe that their yearning for something might actually count as evidence. Like, there are people who unironically make this claim. People who think, well, if I have a yearning for it, then it must be. Like, they think of it kind of like the way the human body has a yearning for carbohydrates and sugar demonstrates that carbohydrates and sugar exist, right? And I guess there's a certain weird kind of logic to that. But, you know, what this leads to is just utter contradiction, because there are people who have a yearning for there to be no God. Some people are quite happy for death to be the end. I mean, there are lots of people in the world who think that death is actually a release from suffering. There are even certain Buddhists who would make that claim, that death is the very thing that relinquishes our pain. So if I have one person who has a yearning for an afterlife and another person who has a yearning for an ultimate death, then both of those yearnings count as evidence for the respective truth of these mutually exclusive propositions. So which of them am that attitude, then I guess you're going to end up believing things that aren't true. And maybe that's the bottom line. Some people just don't care whether or not their belief is true. They care more about whether or not it comforts them. A good analogy for that actually might be people who are in long-term relationships. So let's go with the stereotypical example of the husband and wife, where the wife knows that the husband is cheating on her, but she'd rather believe the comforting lie that the reason he's out all night is because he's working, or the reason he's out all night is because he's just a bit of an owl and he struggles to sleep at night, or the reason he's out all night is because he just wants to hang out with his mates and go to the pub, or she might even rather believe he has a gambling problem. Anything bar believing that he's actually out with another woman. And even though she knows this to be the truth, she will just continue to tell herself this lie. I mean, like, some people would just rather just go along with something that makes them feel comfortable, if only mildly. I don't know, it's just a really bizarre psychology. Maybe it's not, bizarre is the wrong word. Maybe it's just a very human and normal psychology. When I say it's bizarre, I guess all I'm revealing here is that for me and my psychology, I find that a very difficult thing to understand, because it's not how my psychology works. If something isn't true, or if I'm living some kind of a lie, I'm the first person who wants to know it so that I can root it out of my psychology, because I don't want to be going around believing falsehoods, you know? So, In any case, somebody's saying there that the live glitched out for them. I'm just wondering, is that true for more than one person? Um, but yeah, everything looks okay on my end. According to my readout here, it says excellent connection. It says excellent connection. So, um, I don't know. Is that a problem on one person's end? Yeah, I would agree with that. Denying painful realities is quite common. Yeah, I guess so. I guess you're right. That's the problem. And listen, it's not like I'm oblivious to this. I mean, I've definitely had this happen in my own life where I've struggled to confront a reality or struggled to confront something that other people had to bring to my attention. I won't go into examples here because the example, truthfully, that I have in mind is actually a bit personal. Um, but I remember a good friend of mine coming to me and telling me something that I needed to hear that I wasn't ready to hear almost, and I kind of rejected it. But afterwards, realizing no, no, they're right, they're absolutely right, and yeah, I had to just get over that. You know, I had to deal with that unpleasant reality. So it's not like I'm oblivious to this phenomenon where people believe falsehoods or try to pull the wool over their own eyes. I mean, that's that old saying, isn't it? Burying your head in the sand, right? People bury their head in the sand because they'd rather have their head in the sand than confront the reality on the surface, which is unpleasant for them. So, you know, I get it. I get it. I suppose um this serves my overall point, which is that I understand. I get it. Yeah, I'm worried, guys, because somebody else just said there that the connection went down for them. There's literally nothing I can do about that now. I've connected via a hard line. If a hard line connection isn't enough to keep this stream going, then I don't know what to do. I don't have a solution for that, folks. Bar less I call my broadband company and ask them what's going on. Because also another fact worth noting here is that it can't possibly be that the line is too busy, because it's 20 to 1 in the morning here where I'm streaming from right now. So nobody in my area, or very few people in my area, will be online right now. So if it's still choppy right now, then there's something else going wrong here that I don't have an answer for. Perhaps it's a Safari issue because I'm using Safari internet browser on a MacBook. Maybe that's the problem. So maybe next time when I go live for a stream, I'll go live using Google Chrome. Maybe I'll get better there. Let me try one other thing actually. I'm going to disable this. Let me try this. That's no data. This stream will end shortly unless you restart it in your streaming software. Because I turned off my VPN now, I'm getting a strange message. Has this killed the stream? Oh, it's still okay. How is the stream? Can you guys still? Are you guys still there? Somebody comment in the stream there and tell me that you can still see me, please, because I'm not even sure that I'm still here. Let me know on the stream if you can still see me. Yes, you can. Okay, good. God, I'm so bad at this. Yes, okay, good. Yeah, so if there was an interruption there, guys, it's because I turned off a VPN. Don't be kidding like that. Somebody says I'm still not hearing you. That's so mean. I'm clearly struggling here. Goodness gracious me. Don't do that to me, giving me little heart attacks. But yeah, so I just turned off my VPN, guys, and according to my YouTube readout, I now have an excellent connection again. So next time I go live, I will make sure that I have my VPN turned off, and I will make sure that I'm connected using a wired connection rather than a Wi-Fi connection, and maybe those two things together will be enough keep the connection flowing. My volume is a little low. All right, I can actually adjust that. I have. Let's go to 2.7, 2.8. How's that? That should be better now, folks. A little bit louder. Tell me if that's okay on your end. You're going to help me figure this out one at a time, I'm telling you. And now I'm being asked about an extension. No. Don't want to do that. Right. For whatever reason, I can't see most of the chat. You can't see most of the chat? Goodness gracious me. Are you the only person who can't see most of the chat? That's weird. I don't understand why somebody wouldn't be able to see most of the chat. I mean, I'm looking at the stream as it is right now, live. And yeah, it's there on the screen. I can see the chat. Oh, the chat is lagging a wee bit? Yeah, that happens. It won't surprise me if there's a couple of things out of sync, guys, because the way this stream has gone, I've switched from a Wi-Fi to a direct line, and then in addition to that, I've swapped from a VPN connection to a non-VPN connection, so that's to be expected. There might be a couple of things slightly out of sync, but other than that, it should be okay. Yeah. So, again, guys, that's why I'm doing these smaller streams right now. I want to get all of this stuff figured out. It's a YouTube bug. Yeah, no, I understand. If you can't see the chat, maybe just refreshing the screen, refreshing your stream might actually fix that. YouTube live stream always lags. Yeah, I get that. I can see chats appear on your end. I can only see mine on my tablet. Common bug for me these days. Isn't that just irritating? I mean, YouTube is like this multi, like, I'm gonna go ahead and assume, like, $billion entity. Maybe it's hundreds of millions. I don't know. That's very kind of you, Philly. Philly reminding people there who are watching to hit the thumbs up button. That's very, very kind of you. Let me echo Philly's sentiment there. If you're watching, guys, it only takes a second. Drop a like on the stream. It helps out the channel enormously. And separately, if you are both willing and able, feel free to submit a super chat that we can discuss. That would be fantastic as well. But yeah, because of all of these Oh, we just got one. That's very, very kind of you. Libra, the fifth rider, writes, finally able to do this. Had to put you in my ear to hear you properly. Yeah, so I just turned up the volume, Libra. Thank you very much for the $5. That's extremely kind of you. Let me put a quick heart on that. Can we get some likes on that comment from Libra there, guys? I should have mentioned that for the other super chats as well. But I've just been so distracted by figuring out the tech stuff that I never mentioned it for the earlier ones. But yeah, I did turn up my volume, and my volume, Libra, now I'm just looking at my thing because I don't want my volume to clip, because I'm just going to speak more loudly. 1 2 1 2. Actually, that's not coming close to clipping. So let me do one last thing with the volume, guys. Advanced audio properties. I'm just going to turn it up another couple of points on the decibel meter. 1 2 1 2. So that's now louder again, folks. So that might be okay. And actually, oh man, I'm so bad. My laptop is now also threatening to go dead. There's only 10% battery, so I'm not going to even put you guys in the timer. I'm just going to run to the room and get my charger. I'll be 30 seconds. There we go. All right, just give me one moment, folks, and I'll just plug in this charger. This has to be the most unprofessional stream in the history of streams. You know what? Don't send me any more super chats because I absolutely do not deserve them. I apologize for the unprofessionalism. One second, let me plug this in before the stream goes bloody dead because my laptop switches off. Right. So, now, there we go. My laptop isn't going to go dead now. Wow, I put that mic very tall. Let's bring that back down. There we go. All right. So the volume, guys, now should be better. Again, I can actually see that in my levels there. That's a much healthier, filling approximately 2/3 of the volume bar. I don't want it going all the way to the top because I certainly don't want it clipping. But just in case it wasn't clear because I got distracted there, thank you very much, Libra, for that super chat. That's very, very kind of you. And I hope the volume is a little bit better for you there now. Again, I'm just figuring all of this out as I go along, folks. But yeah. Oh, I suck. I absolutely suck at this. But oh, I've got another story for you guys. Actually, this is a good one. This is a really, really good one. So, for those of you who weren't here earlier in the stream, and for those of you who don't know this already, I'm a massive, massive nerd, and I go to Comic Cons quite a bit. I love going to Comic Con. Oh, before I get to that story, let me get back. I've just gotten a super chat here from DJ Megan. Satanas, don't tell me what to do. Oh, that's very. Oh, I get the joke. I get the joke. I said, "What if? Don't submit any more super chats because I bloody well don't deserve them." That's incredibly kind of you, DJ Megan. That's quite a cool name as well. That's that's very, very kind of you. Thank you. DJ Megan. I won't tell you what to do anymore. I humbly apologize. Thank you very much for the super chat. That's extremely kind of you. But yeah, so I went to a Comic Con recently. DJ Megan. I don't know if you are aware of this. But like I said, I'm a huge nerd. I don't go to Comic Cons for the comic books. I'm not such a comic book guy. But if you examine the background of my room here, what you'll probably notice is that there's various collectibles and Funko Pops and bits and pieces around the room. I'm a collector of action figures and Funko Pops and autographs and statues and props and all this kind of stuff. I don't drink or do certain substances. I spend all of my money on this junk. I guess we've all got our vices, right? But yeah, we went to London Film and Comic Con. I think it was last Saturday, and we went there specifically for the purposes of meeting the one and only Mel Gibson. Now, this is quite funny when you think about it because I'm a dyed-in-the-wool atheist. Oh wow, another super chat, Libra. My God, you're too generous. That's so kind of you. All good on my end. Love your channel. Huge fan. Thank you so much, Libra. The fact that you submitted the super chat just to tell me that is so incredibly kind. Libra, for those of you who don't know, already submitted the super chat earlier. And guys, if you are submitting a super chat, feel free to add a question to it. I don't want you to just, submit a super chat for charity and so on. Although if that's what you're doing, that's so incredibly kind. That's so incredibly kind of you, Libra. I mean, I'm not going to tell people not to be charitable if they'd like to be. That's incredibly generous. But I just mean, if you want to get a little bit more out of the super chat, feel free to pop a question on the end of it that I can answer, and I would love to do that. But if you don't have a question and you just want to be nice, that's beautiful, and I thank you, and I'm very humbled by that. But thank you so much, Libra. That's the second super chat that Libra has submitted. That's incredibly kind. But yeah, I was just saying that you guys will find this funny because Mel Gibson is like the poster child for Christianity, right? He directed The Passion of the Christ, and he's made no secret of his own Christian commitments. And he said some very dodgy things. I know, I get that Mel Gibson is a controversial character, but I'd be lying to you if I didn't admit to the fact that I absolutely adore him as an actor. Braveheart is one of my favorite films ever. Mel Gibson in Lethal Weapon. I love the Lethal Weapon movies, even the latter entries. I just absolutely love Mel Gibson's acting. I'm not going to comment on his commentary and stuff outside of acting. That's not the reason I like him. He said some very objectionable stuff in other areas. But my partner and I went to London Film Comic Con to meet him and to get a photo and an autograph. And what's really funny is that he did such a Mel Gibson thing. So we were queuing for the photograph, and just when it was our turn, sorry, I'll get back to the photograph question in a minute. I've gotten another super chat here, which comes from Monica. $5 from Monica. That's very, very kind of you, Monica. Monica writes, will you be back as a host on the line anytime soon? It has been a while. Loved seeing you there. Feel free to finish your story before answering. Monica, I'll get back to my story in a moment. I want to prioritize you because you've been kind enough to prioritize me. I don't take for granted that you've given me $5 of your own hard-earned cash. That's very, very kind. I haven't been, you're quite right, it's actually been a while since I've been on the line. They have such a vast range of hosts that there's just a massive queue, right? I would absolutely love to go back on the line again. I have no doubt that I'll be back on there again at some point. But they just have such a vast catalogue of hosts. I mean, every week now I see Matt or Jimmy hosting with somebody else that I've not even seen on there before. Because one of the things that I love about the line, something that they do, and it's something that they did for me, is that they scroll the net and they look through so-called atheist or skeptic YouTube, and they give smaller creators a chance, just like they did with me, right? I mean, I'm still a small creator, but thanks to my appearance on the line, I'm a little bit larger of a creator now. They are such a wonderful network. They do amazing work in skepticism and atheism, but they also give smaller creators a chance. They give them a chance to be in the limelight, sat next to somebody like a Matt Dillahunty, right? And I will be eternally grateful to them for that. If I never appear on the line again, it'll still be nothing but love from me. Because I can't guarantee I'm going to be on the line again. I mean, they're very busy people and they've got a huge back catalogue and they've got plenty of their own hosts and so on. They don't owe anything to me, but I'll tell you one thing for sure. I definitely owe them. If they asked me to go on the line tomorrow and it was inconvenient for me to do so, I would endeavour to shove that inconvenience aside and appear on the line, because those people have done nothing but treat me incredibly well. They took a chance on me. They nipped me out of YouTube obscurity and said, let's give this nobody Irish guy a chance. Let's sit him next to the one and only Matt Dillahunty and give him a chance. And I'm eternally grateful to them for that. Right? They didn't have to do that. They took a chance. Who knows what I could have said on the show, right? But they took a chance on me. And not only did they take that chance, they then had me back multiple times. Right? I am honored to have appeared on their show the number of times I have. I think I've appeared on their show like 3 or 4 times at this point. And each and every one of those opportunities was a privilege and an honor. And if I get to do that again, I'll do so with a big, big smile on my face. But there's no plans at this current time, is all I can tell you. And, you know, as soon as that changes, I'll let you guys know. I'll put out a community post. But I would be honored to return to the line because they do incredible work. And I massively enjoyed my time there. But yeah, thanks again for that super chat, Monica. That's very, very kind of you. So, as I was saying, guys, Mel Gibson did the most Mel Gibson thing ever when we were just about to have our photo taken. And when I say just about to, I mean we were next in line. We were literally the next people to stand next to him to get the photo taken. And what happened? Mel Gibson started having a row. Not a physical fight, but a verbal altercation with the photographer. I apologize in advance because I'm not able to do a Mel Gibson impersonation, nor am I able to do a very convincing American accent. But it transpired that Mel was very frustrated with the photographer because he wasn't taking the pictures fast enough, right? Mel was getting irritated because the if the photographer doesn't take the pictures fast enough, you got to understand, guys, at these Comic Cons, there's often hundreds, sometimes thousands of people there to meet a single person. And Mel Gibson is a very, very big guest, right? So, like, the line for Mel was around the block, basically. So, if the photographer doesn't take the pictures quickly, Mel ends up standing there for a whole extra couple of hours, right? I mean, if you think about it, let's imagine the photographer takes on average 4 seconds, or is supposed to take 4 seconds, but is taking on average 8 seconds. That takes a 2 hour photo shoot and turns it into a 4 hour photo shoot. So literally every second counts, right? And Mel got frustrated with the photographer, and it just so happened to happen whilst we were stood there, and he was shouting at the photographer. He goes, "I'm not going to stand here all day, buddy." Oh man, I just couldn't believe what was happening. I was like, "Oh my god, this is such a Hollywood moment. This is truly unbelievable. I'm definitely getting my money's worth here." Um yeah, I was kind of in a state of disbelief about it, actually, as it was happening. But yeah, apparently he's no stranger to that kind of behavior. So perhaps we're not the only person, perhaps we're not the only people who witnessed such an altercation that day. But I got to admit, he was very pleasant. I mean, it was a 10-second interaction. Hey, how are you? And thanks very much. But he was perfectly gentlemanly with his fans, it would seem. But yeah, man, he decided he did not like that photographer. I'll tell you. But yeah, look. Anyway, this is kind of what I do. I go to Comic Cons and I pay way too much money for autographs, and some people think that that's very silly. I was reading a comment thread just yesterday about somebody who was just utterly perplexed by autographs. And look, I get it. I'm not going to be able to explain to somebody who's perplexed by autographs why autographs are cool, right? I get it. If you don't get autographs, if you think they're a waste of time paying somebody for their signature that takes a couple of seconds, then yeah, if that's not for you, I'm not going to be able to persuade you. One thing I could perhaps say that might reorient your intuition slightly is that autographs can actually be quite valuable. They can be. I don't think I have any autographs that are particularly valuable as such, but I've seen autographs that go for quite a lot. I was just looking on eBay today, and there was somebody selling a cast-signed Aliens poster. I'm talking about the James Cameron's Alien starring Sigourney Weaver, right? Somebody was selling a poster. It was signed by Sigourney Weaver and the rest of the cast from the first Aliens movie, some of whom are now deceased. The late Bill Paxton, for example. So it had his autograph and some others on it, right? And that poster was selling for $4,000. Now, that was the asking price. You might say, well, just because they're asking doesn't mean that they'll get it. Oh, yes, they do. Go to the sold listings and look at what cast-signed Aliens pieces are selling for. And they sell for big bucks, folks, right? So there is money that can be made in the autograph business, that's for sure. But I'd be lying to you if I said I purchase autographs for that reason. That's just not the case. I purchase autographs because I like owning them. I purchase autographs because I want to have them in my collection. I like purchasing autographs because I want to hang that piece on my wall, and every time I walk by it, I'm reminded, oh, that's the day I met that person. And I remember when I gave them a hug, and I remember what we spoke about, and that's a movie I grew up with. So I'll give you the nerdiest example, right? I absolutely love the 1995 Mortal Kombat movie. I got that VHS when I was a kid. I was born in 91, and I grew up playing the Super Nintendo and playing Mortal Kombat on the Super Nintendo. So my mother eventually bought me the VHS of Mortal Kombat, probably when I was about maybe 6 years of age, and I wore out the VHS. I absolutely wore it out. I watched it and rewatched it and watched it and rewatched it. And I can now say, because of Comic Con, that I have met almost all of the main cast in that movie. I met Robin Shou, aka Liu Kang. I met Lyndon Ashby, aka Johnny Cage. I've met Christopher Lambert, aka Raiden. I've met Francois Petit, aka Sub-Zero, right? Those are the ones that come to mind. I've not met Sonya. Oh yeah, I also met Kari Hiroyuki Tagawa, aka Shang Tsung. How could I forget that one? I've met most of the cast basically at this point. I'll never meet Kano because unfortunately the actor Trevor Goddard, I think his name was, I think he passed away. Oh wow, just got another super chat here. Let me get to that. So it's Libra again. Libra, you're kidding me. Oh my god. That's incredibly kind of you, Libra. Let me read this out. So Libra submits another super chat, $10 this time. Libra, goodness gracious me, I don't know what I've done to deserve you, my friend, but that's awesome. So Libra writes, Mel is awesome as an actor. Have you noticed the little things Jordan Peterson does that manipulate the crowds to pay attention mainly when he's doing debates and such? The little things Jordan Peterson does that manipulates the crowds. I'm not exactly sure what you're talking about, Libra, in terms of manipulation or things that he might be doing to manipulate the crowd. You don't need to submit another super chat for this, but perhaps if you want to leave a comment with some of the things that you might be thinking about, some of the things that you have in mind. I'm not a fan of Jordan Peterson, as viewers of my channel will know. I've made a number of videos about him at this point, which I think unequivocally expose him as a person who deals in fallacious and false claims. My most recent video, I think, is a perfect case in point that Jordan Peterson is an intellectual fraud, at the very least. I'm not saying he's guilty of fraud in the legally protected sense. I'm just saying that his arguments and his claims are very often fallacious and false. I will say one thing that I've noticed him doing, Libra, is that he just doesn't answer questions that reveal the falsehood or the problems with his positions. Right? So one of the really ridiculous things that happened when he appeared on that Jubilee Surrounded program recently was that one of the atheists who was speaking with him, Libra, spoke to him. Basically, the atheist put the classic axe murderer thought experiment to him. You know, if there's an axe murderer looking for somebody who you're hiding in your attic, it's just that this atheist put it in the framing of World War II, where I don't want to say their name, the bad guys from World War II. I want to avoid certain words because it'll just cause problems for me here on YouTube. But the bad guys from World War II come knocking on the door and they're looking for the Jews, we'll put it that way. And it just so happens that you're hiding Jews in the attic. Now, when confronted with that situation, presumably you have to tell a lie. You're going to say, oh, there's no Jews here, so that they can survive. What was the point in hiding them if you were just going to tell the truth the very minute the bad guys from World War II showed up at your door, right? I'll read your follow-up comment in a moment, Libra. But Jordan said that he would never tell a lie. Right? He just wouldn't tell lies, and that lies can't save people and so on. And so the atheist put this thought experiment to him and said, so what would you do in that situation? Now, the obvious answer for any common sense thinking human being, any logical, rational person, is to say, yeah, that's a situation where you have to tell a lie. You say, oh, there's no Jews here, so that you can save the lives of the Jews who are hiding in your attic. Because if you tell the truth, they die in no uncertain terms, right? Jordan's response to this was to say, and I quote, I wouldn't end up in that position in the first place. Oh, really? So it turns out Jordan has a crystal ball. So he's refusing, just please acknowledge this, he's refusing to answer that question. The question was, what would you do? He says, I wouldn't end up in that position in the first place. That's not an answer to what you would do if the bad guys from World War II come knocking on the door, asking you if there's Jews hidden in your attic, where there's Jews actually hidden. So that's not an answer to the hypothetical. And then he goes on to say something like, If you're in that situation, you've already told so many lies at that point that you're gone past the point of no return, which to my mind almost sounded like victim blaming. It kind of sounded like any society who ends up in that position is basically guilty for ending up in that situation. Like it's kind of your own fault for ending up there. I mean, this is just astonishingly weak sauce, and it's one of those tactics that you might be referring to, Libra. This disingenuous question dodging that he does, where whenever he's confronted with a question that reveals an inadequacy in his position, he just refuses to answer the question, changes the subject, and basically just dodges, right? I mean, it's completely uncool, but this is what he does all of the time. Jordan Peterson is not a serious intellectual. So let me read your follow-up, Libra. I did see that you wrote a follow-up question there. I should be able to find it here. Oh, this chat is frozen. Let me... Sorry, Libra. I'm scrolling back up, but the chat from earlier is not loading, which is very, very frustrating. That's irritating. Libra, if you could just copy and paste your comment again, just so it's a new comment in the chat, that would be extremely helpful, and then I'll respond to, not as a super chat, mind you, just repost your examples of the tactics you think he uses as a new comment, and I'll respond to it there. And that's no problem at all, because the chat, the earlier messages in the chat, because of the connection for some reason, are just not loading, which is quite frustrating. As soon as I see that, I'll respond to it, Libra. So apologies about that, but it's just a little technological difficulty. But yeah, I've come to the conclusion that Jordan Peterson is basically just an intellectual fraud. Again, just to be clear, because I don't want to be accused of libel here, I'm not using fraud in the legally protected sense. I'm not saying that Jordan Peterson has done anything illegal. When I say intellectual fraud, all I mean is that he is a purveyor of falsehoods and fallacious claims. Right, and I've shown that now multiple times on my channel. And I have another video coming up about him, by the way, which will show that yet again. Yet again. I'm going to stay away, however, from the... I'm going to stay away from the Jubilee video, because the Jubilee video has resulted in copyright claims galore and that sort of thing, and I don't want that. So unfortunately my chat is completely frozen here, so I'm going to hit refresh here. It may cause a pause in the stream for a moment, but it should be okay. Let me hit refresh. Should be all right. Oh, it's struggling. Right. There we go. So we should be back now. So unfortunately, yeah, I'm having considerable trouble, guys, with the chat loading and so on. It's very frustrating. Oh, dear. Okay, my chat is now loading again. My chat is now loading again, so that's a good thing. I feel so refreshed. Guys, he's refreshing us. Sorry, guys, I had to refresh it so that the chat will continue moving, so you should be able to hear me now again. But yeah, I don't know why that's happening. So just to repeat to Libra, if you now post your comment about the tactics that Peterson uses into the chat. Oh, I found it, Libra. I actually found your comment, but that refresh fixed it. So Libra wrote in an earlier comment, vocal shifts. He speaks preacherese. It's a vocal thing that causes high emotional responses. His grand hand gestures are used the same. He's aggressive and obscures things intentionally. Yes, I think the preacher comment, Libra, is spot on. I think the reason Peterson speaks... Well, I mean, I don't want to be too cynical. I think he probably has quite a natural tendency to speak that way. So it depends on how cynical you want to be. Does he speak that way because he knows that's what his audience is looking for? Or is it the fact that he speaks that way that has garnered him that audience in the first place? I'll leave you be the judge of that. I'm not entirely sure. All I can say is that whatever your view, he is he is very often speaking falsehoods and fallacious nonsense. I think that's undeniable at this point. I defy anybody to watch my most recent video where I examine Peterson's claims about Exodus and slavery in the Bible and come away from that concluding anything other than Peterson is a preacher of falsehoods and fallacious ideas. Right? I would say it's unequivocally the case that Peterson is guilty of the things that I have accused him of in that video. That video is titled Exposing Jordan Peterson. I think the thumbnail reads something like liar or what was it? Or idiot, I think I said. Liar or idiot. Which is not a true dichotomy, which lots of people pointed out in the comments. But it still made a good thumbnail. I didn't want to write down... thumbnails need to be short and snappy. I didn't want to write down liar, idiot, or something else, or liar, idiot, or both, or something else. And that doesn't work as a title. I wanted something snappy and quick. And in any case, yeah, that's where the thumbnail came from. So, Nigel, you submitted a super chat earlier, so let me read this question for you because it's only fair that I give you a bit more time here because you've been very generous with me. Nigel writes, what is your biggest fear or concern for the younger generation you see coming up through school nowadays? Nigel, undeniably, it is social media. It is the internet. It is the fact that the entire world, in the words of Sam Harris, has been enrolled in a colossal social experiment without really realizing it. Right? I mean, it's crazy what's going on with social media and algorithms and the addiction that people have to social media, where people can't put away their phones, where they can't put them down. And I felt this myself. I'm not pointing fingers. I was scrolling today on TikTok and I just wanted to put the phone away and I was finding myself incapable of doing so. I just put the phone away. I was like, goodness gracious me. Like, they know how to get into your head. The algorithm does a really good job of determining what it is you like so that they can target you and send more of that stuff your way. The thing is, and as I pointed out earlier in this stream, young people have been scrolling from birth, basically. I'm being a little bit hyperbolic there, but you know what I mean. I didn't have advanced social media technology in my hands until I was a teenager. It didn't get advanced enough to be like it is today until I was about maybe 14 or 15. So I had 14 or 15 years free of algorithms, free of scrolling, free of social media trends, right? Free of that kind of bombardment where everything is sexualized and everybody looks like a model, and not to mention the nudity and the extremism and, like people who believe in the flat earth, like that community is now growing around the globe, if you will. And it's because of social media. It's because these like little snippets of so-called globe skeptics are going viral on YouTube Shorts, and they're going viral on TikTok as people are scrolling. So people are buying this stuff hook, line, and sinker. The internet is destroying us. It's causing an incredible rise in misinformation and disinformation. It's causing people to believe crazy conspiracy theories about 4G and about vaccines and about certain politicians and lizard people, and we didn't land on the moon and the earth is actually flat, and it's just chaos out there. To say nothing of the mental health problems where everybody is seeing an idealized version of everybody else in social media because people don't so commonly upload pictures of them at their lowest moments. No, they upload the moments of them at their highest. The picture of them at the gym, the picture of them in Barbados or on the beach getting a beautiful tan, or the time they all celebrated together, and then you're sat there depressed in the darkness of your room scrolling, feeling like death and you're seeing all of these perfect lives displayed on social media. It's just a recipe for disaster, and I think young people have been destroyed by it. When I was in school, if you were being bullied, you could go home, and at least the bullying didn't recommence until the following morning. Nowadays, when you go home, the bullying intensifies in the online space, where photos of you are uploaded and you're humiliated over and over and over and over again, which has resulted in the deaths of young people. And I feel so sorry for them. I know it's not fashionable to feel sorry for young people. I know it's not fashionable. The fashionable thing to do is to look down on young people and call them snowflakes and tell them to get over it, and you have it much easier than we had it in our day, and this sort of thing. And there's a sense in which that's true. I know my parents had it harder than my life has been. There's no question. And I know my grandparents had it way harder than even my parents did. I get that. I'm not saying that we should be ungrateful. We should absolutely count our blessings, if you'll forgive the religious terminology. We should absolutely be grateful for the things we have, and I certainly am. And I'm so grateful for the life that I have and for the people I have in it. I really, really am. But unfashionable though it might be, I think it's absolutely essential to acknowledge the challenges that a generation is facing. Yes, they're not the same challenges, they're different challenges, but they're challenges nonetheless. And young people are facing the challenge of being addicted to social media and having their mental health destroyed by it. Right? I mean, tell me I'm wrong here, folks. I really do feel sorry for them. I really do. They were they're unwitting participants in something that's in some ways destroying their lives. I'm not saying social media is all bad, right? I can tell you some of the positives. I've seen missing people be found again because of the power of social media and how quick a message can spread. During lockdown, social media was my saving grace, as I was able to communicate with my family with ease, right? I'm not saying it's all bad. Social media has its upsides. Some people, I mean, I'm a beneficiary. I run my YouTube channel using the social media platform that is YouTube, right? I mean, I'm not saying social media is all bad. I think it has some great strengths and positives, and it can be amazing when used in the right way. But when used in the wrong way, it ends in disaster. My school has just banned mobile phones because this problem is now so pernicious, because it's destroying children's education, where half the kids are on their phone under the desk, where they can't help but incessantly check it. Here's a really disturbing fact. If you ask young people, ask the average person, ask the average, I don't know, 14-year-old the following question, and be prepared for the shocking answer. Ask them, do they check their notifications during the night when they're asleep? In other words, do they wake up at, say, 4 a.m. to check their notifications? The majority of them will say, yes, they do. That is deeply concerning, folks. That is deeply concerning, right? That is an addiction, plain and simple. And I think it's undeniable. That is undeniable. These young people are addicted to their devices. And that addiction, no addiction is good, let alone an addiction to social media or phones. And so that is my number one concern for the current generation, folks. It's not good. It really isn't good. And that's just the problems with young people. Adults have their own set of problems in relation to social media. It's just an absolute nightmare. It's just an absolute nightmare. I mean, I think there's a reason that, politically speaking, we're at each other's throats. And it's because you're in your political bubble, I'm in my political bubble. You're being fed what am I trying to say? You're being fed a diet of political opinions that the algorithm already knows you agree with because of the things you've clicked on. Do you guys realize, and I read this, so take it with a pinch of salt, I can't verify the truth of this, but according to what I read, the algorithm is measuring everything down to the nanosecond of how long you spend on each image. Let's imagine I scrolled through 5 images, and this would be impossible, but let's imagine I spend exactly 1 second on image 1 1, 2, 3, and 5. But on image 4, I spend 1 second and 1 millisecond. The algorithm logs that, and depending on how that fourth image is categorized, it then sends me more of that. Your feed is not a scroll. The future isn't determined already. The feed is dynamically updating as you scroll, depending on what you're pausing on. So, classic example of the man who stops at the picture of the girl in her bikini, who's looking rather voluptuous, shall we say. Then, moments later, the next thing in his feed is yet another one, and then another one, and then you're down that rabbit hole into a whole feed populated by explicit imagery. And the same is true with political opinions. Stop for an extra millisecond on that flat earth video, and you're going to be fed a diet of flat earth nonsense and so on. This is how it works. This is why we're at each other's throats. This is why people can't agree, because everybody is digesting a diet of stuff that already agrees with what they think. What can you do? Now, you might say, but wasn't it the same in the past? People bought their favorite newspaper that they largely agreed with and so on. Yeah, there's a sense in which that's true, but it's nowhere near as pernicious, and it's nowhere near as effective as what an algorithm is, right? I don't think I need to explain to an intelligent audience such as yourselves why that's different. I think it's quite clear why that's different. So, yeah, I think we're in deep doo-doo, folks. We're in deep doo-doo, and I don't know how we get out of it, because everybody's hopelessly addicted to their phones. I suspect what's going to happen, and I think this is already happening in some places, we're going to see mobile phones and social media be outlawed. I know social media already has an age range. You're meant to be 16 plus, but it's trivially easy to lie about your age. I can see governments around the world taking legal steps and making it such that a young person cannot, without breaking the law, access social media until they are 16, 17 or 18 or something like that. I can see that happening. Now, that'll solve the problem, largely speaking, for young people, but it'll still very much leave open the problem for adults, because, you know, you can't just make something illegal for adults just because it might have negative consequences, right? I mean, there are certain things we've made illegal because of negative consequences, but there has to be some wiggle room or freedom in society as well. I mean, in the morning, we could just make it illegal to travel faster than 10 miles an hour on the road, and that would almost certainly eliminate most, if not all, traffic collision accidents. Because the only collisions you're going to have at 10 miles an hour, two cars going 10 miles an hour, 20 mile an hour collision zone, it's not going to be that disastrous. Comparing that with, you know, the 100 mile an hour collision zone crashes or the 200 mile an hour collision zone crashes and so on, right? You could do that, but it would rob us of an immense amount of freedom, right? To have to travel 10 miles an hour everywhere would be impractical. It would save lives, but it would be impractical, and it would rob us of a certain amount of freedom, wouldn't it? So there has to be some negotiation between freedom on one hand and the protection of human life on the other. So you can't just outlaw social media for everybody, or just outlaw phones for everybody or something like that. That would be an insane encroachment of the government. But I don't know what they're going to do for adults. I mean, I guess all we can do is have conversations like this where we keep raising awareness and making people aware of screen time and how dangerous it can be. I mean, sugar is also killing a lot of people in the world, isn't it? But we can't just outlaw sugar. All you can do is make people aware of the dangers, encourage dieting, encourage exercise, encourage good bodily health. You can't just outlaw sugar. And I think social media is kind of like sugar, right? It can be disastrous. It can ruin your life. It can quite literally lead to your own undoing by your own hand, for example, or through stupidity where people copy social trends or like stunts and end their own lives by accident and so on. It's all very dark and scary, folks. I've said lots there, and I apologize because this is very heavy and sad right now. But yeah, I will bring this to an end soon, folks, because I've actually, according to this, I've been streaming now for just about 2 hours, which is way longer than I actually intended to stream. But the conversation has been so good, and you guys have been so generous with your time, and it's been an honor to have this conversation with you this evening. So, yeah, I don't want to overstay my welcome and end up droning on, which is probably something I'm already guilty of. Some of you are probably thinking, Magic Skeptic, that ship has sailed. Goodness gracious me, Dara, you've been droning on for the last 2 hours. So then maybe that's what you're here for, and if that's the case, much love, much love. But guys, listen, thank you so much. Again, I sound like a broken record, but, the fact that I can turn this on and, 20, 30, 40 people show up is just an astonishing fact about my life that I can't quite come to grips with. So I just, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for joining me here this evening. And thank you so much to those of you who submitted super chats. You honestly have absolutely no idea how beneficial that is and how helpful that is for the channel. I put in an enormous amount of work into this channel, and to just receive that little financial contribution makes it all worthwhile. And so thank you so much to those of you who saw fit to spend your hard-earned cash. I know what it's like to work for a living, folks. I get it. I'm a teacher by trade. I still have a job. YouTube isn't my job. I wish it was, but my channel isn't near big enough yet. But thanks to the support of people like you with your super chats, dropping likes on the video, commenting, and just generally watching my content. Thanks to you guys, my channel is growing, and it's growing into a beautiful and wonderful community. And it's just such an honor to be part of it. And so, look, I'm going to shut up now because I'm starting to get way too cheesy and too emotional. And the last thing I want to do is start getting upset on this live. So I can see lots of comments there. Philly, thank you so much, saying I'm a terrific host. You're far too kind. That's very, very generous of you to say. But yeah, with that said, folks, I think I'll leave it there for tonight. So thanks so much for joining me, and hopefully you will join me in the next live, or if not, I'll see you in the comment section of my next video, which should be uploaded next Sunday, guys. Not tomorrow. The following Sunday will be my next video, so look forward to that. And yeah, until then, stay safe and keep being skeptical, folks. Thanks very much. All the best. Goodbye.